Yep, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to rearrange the podium? I anticipate you'll be using that.
Yes, ma'am.
Who's your next, you got your next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Nicole Oulson.
All right.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you shall give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Good, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mrs. Oulson.
Good afternoon.
Would you please state your name for the record and spell your last name for the benefit of the court reporter?
Nicole Oulson, Oulson.
Ms. Oulson, what city do you live in?
Land O'Lakes,
How long have you lived there?
about 15 years.
Back in 2014, were you married?
I was, yes.
And your husband's name?
Chad Oulson,
And in 2014, how long had you been married?
we were married in 2007, so about 7 years.
Children?
Yes, one daughter,
In 2014, how old was she?
22 months, or just under 2.
And her name?
Alexis,
In 2014, were you working outside the home?
I was, yes.
Where were you working?
At USAA,
And what did you do at USAA?
I managed a team of insurance agents, so they issued and serviced insurance policies, and I made sure that they were in compliance and doing their responsibilities.
And if you could, as of 2014, how long have you been doing that job?
I started in 2007, same year I got married, so about 7 years.
All right. Are you still employed there?
Yes, I am.
Same position,
Yes,
same duties?
same duties, yes.
In 2014, was your husband Chad employed?
He was, yes.
And where was he employed?
Sky Power Sports, the name has changed over time, but I believe that's what it was at that year.
Sky Power Sports, is that a retail business?
It is, yes.
And what sort of merchandise do they sell?
Bikes and four-wheelers, maybe jet skis, recreational vehicles, sports things.
What was your husband's Chad's responsibilities or duties? What was his job there?
He was in sales, so he did the floor when customers came in.
And as of 2014, how long had he worked there?
About the same time, we moved over to this area around 2007, and that was his job since then.
Okay. Let me go back to USAA. On the campus of that business, is there a daycare?
There is, yes.
In 2014, did you take advantage of that employee benefit and Lexi was at that daycare?
Yes.
The significant date here is January 13th, 2014, so I'm using that date as a reference. Prior to that, how long has she been going to that daycare? How long have you been using that facility?
Her whole life since she was about 6 weeks old, so just under 2 years.
Now, you mentioned that she was about 22 months old.
Yes.
Has she begun to get some teeth, cut some teeth?
Fun times, yes, she was teething.
Okay, what do you mean by fun times?
Cranky, fussy, never knew from day to day or minute to minute how she was going to be acting or feeling.
Did she ever get fevers associated with the teething?
She did, yes.
Earaches?
Possibly, yes.
I want to talk a little bit just about you and your husband, all right? Would you do me a favor? Would you just stand up, please?
Yes, sir.
All right, and how tall are you? About?
5'2"-ish. I have heels on, so maybe a little taller today.
And approximately how tall was your husband?
6'4", 6'5".
You have a seat. Let me show you what's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit Number J. Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, I do.
And who is depicted in that photograph?
Myself and Chad.
I'm going to refer to it as a yard photograph because there's foliage behind it.
Okay.
In that photograph, are the two of you standing side by side?
We are, yes.
And using that photograph as a reference, does that particular photograph fairly show the difference in height between you two?
I believe so, yes. I was wearing flats and he was wearing probably sneakers or
And you come up to about where?
his shoulder.
You know, at this time, I've moved mark for identification as State's Exhibit J and move it in as next exhibit in order.
We had a previous objection on it, we would renew it at this time.
Okay.
So it's Exhibit 4?
It'll
Is
be
it admitted?
admitted as Exhibit 4.
May I publish?
You may.
Madam Clerk, is it okay if I write on the floor? And Deputy? Oops, went too far. I hate these things. There we go. All right. Before you is State's Exhibit Number 4. Who is in that photograph?
Myself and Chad.
Right. And you indicated that both of you were wearing flat shoes.
Yes.
And does that photograph represent the difference in height between you two?
Yes.
Right, and you're about up to his shoulder.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry, I totally missed the table. I thought it was there. Taylor? Thank you. What I'd like to do now is direct your attention to January 13th, 2014. It's a Monday.
Yes.
It's a weekday. Had you worked the Saturday before?
I did, yes.
Your normal days are what?
Normally Monday through Friday, but as a manager, we have to rotate Saturdays on occasion, about once a quarter, and that just happened to be my Saturday to work.
All right. Did you have Monday, January the 13th off?
I chose that day off, yes.
Okay. Since the Lexi came into your life, do you and your husband Chad get many days alone together?
No, hardly any.
It's all about her, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. On Monday, January 13th of 2014, did you have an opportunity to use the daycare center at USAA and so that you and Chad could have a day to yourself?
Yes, we did.
Let's just kind of take us through the day up until the new time hour, okay?
Okay.
All right. During, before you left the house, did you have any definite plans about what you were going to do that day?
No definite plans, no.
Just you want to spend it together?
Together, yes.
Okay. Tell me about Lexi. Was she teething?
She was, yes.
Describe her, I hate to use demeanor for a 22-month-old, but how was she acting?
Drooling and always wanting to put things in her mouth, kind of irritated, a little fussy.
She had been at the daycare before with those symptoms?
Yes,
Nothing new to them?
no,
Okay. You had no problems then using the staff at that particular daycare center to take care of your child who was having these normal, I'll call them growing pains, teething?
as long as there's no fever, then yes.
All right. And if there is a fever, what is the protocol at the campus?
We would have to take her home.
Okay. And you would get a phone call to that effect?
That's correct.
About what time did the three of you finally leave the house and you drive to the campus of USAA and go to the daycare?
You know, I didn't have a specific time to be at work, so we just kind of gradually got up and got moving that morning. I don't know an exact time, but later morning, 9-ish approximately.
Before you left the house, were there any definite plans after you dropped Lexi off at the daycare?
No definite plans other than to stay close in case we got a phone call.
All right, so we leave the house and we drive to USAA. You drop Lexi off?
Yes.
And tell me that process. Did you just go in and say, here, run out, or what was the process?
Well, no, you have to badge in to get into the campus, and you have to badge in to get into the daycare. Normally, it's my routine, since she's coming to work with me, to bring her and pick her up. So I was the more familiar face there. But that morning, Chad got an opportunity to come, so he was excited to. He had been there before, but not as frequently as me. So we went in together, and he talked to the staff and went into her classroom and talked to her teacher. And we just kind of talked about what she was experiencing with the teething and, you know, just to be mindful of it, and we were around if needed.
You then leave the daycare.
Yes.
While you're still on campus, are there any plans made, or was that later?
Later,
All right, so where'd you go after you dropped off Lexi?
well, we decided to get breakfast at Cracker Barrel, which is pretty close by to my work,
Okay.
and we went and had some breakfast.
You know approximately what time that is? Breakfast time?
10:30
Okay.
possibly, yes.
During breakfast, were there any discussions about what you were going to do with the rest of your day?
Yes, that is when we decided our plans.
All right, and tell us what the decision was. What were you going to do?
Well, we knew we needed to stay close, so we decided to see a movie. But we had time prior to that starting, so we decided to go to the Wiregrass Mall and just walk around, do a little bit of window shopping, and just kill some time.
All right. Is Wiregrass Mall a mall like we had in the 80s where it's just one big box and all the stores are in, or is it at one of those outside malls?
It's an outdoor mall, and it was a beautiful day. That's part of why we decided to go there.
Okay. All right. And after breakfast, did you in fact go there?
We did, yes.
Yeah. Chad have a cell phone?
Yes.
Okay. While at the Wiregrass Mall, was there an occasion when Chad showed you something on his phone that he wanted to show you?
Yes.
What did he show you?
It was a football meme type joke. It was just kind of a conversation between different quarterbacks where they were picking on each other and kind of bickering back and forth. I did not take it to be a real conversation. It was just made up, kind of funny about how many Super Bowl rings I have compared to how many you have, things like that. And we looked at it and laughed for a little bit.
A little bit of entertainment.
Right, yeah.
Well, let's talk about the movies. How often do you and Chad go to the movies?
We went quite often prior to Lexi being born. Since Lexi was born, I'd say a very few.
And what is it about the going to the movies outside the home that is attractive for that type of style of entertainment to you and Chad?
It's just family fun, just some quiet time where we can, kind of get close together and spend some time together and enjoy something that we have in common.
From the Wiregrass Mall, did you have an occasion to go to the Cobb Theater at 6333 Wesley Grove Boulevard, Wesley Chapel, Pasco, Florida?
We went to that theater, yes.
Okay. Had you made a decision before you got there as to what movie you wanted to see?
We did, yes.
And what movie was that?
Lone Survivor?
Once you arrived, well, do you recall approximately what time the movie Lone Survivor started?
I believe 1:20-ish, a little after 1.
And you got there before then?
We're always early to everything, so yes.
Okay. You and Chad go up to the, I guess it's an outside ticket window?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. Did you buy a ticket
Yes, 2 tickets.
for Lone Survivor?
Yes.
Once you purchased the ticket and you went inside, did you at that time learn what theater number within that megaplex complex of numerous theaters?
Yes, there's an assistant in there that tells you and points you in the right direction.
And was that theater number 10?
It was, yes.
What I'd like to do is take you through, well, first, when you go in, is there a lobby?
There is, yes.
Is there a concession?
Yes.
Prior to going to Theater 10, did you and Chad take advantage of the concession and purchase some snacks for the movie?
We did, yes.
All right. After you purchased the snacks, did you make your way to Theater 10?
Yes, maybe a bathroom break, I don't. But yes, we did make our way to the theater.
All right. What I'd like to do is take you through going into the theater and the selection of the seats and where you sat, okay? That's what we're going to talk about next. When you came into the theater, did you notice the lighting conditions when you arrived? When you first walked in and, you walk in, okay, there it is. What was the lighting condition?
It was dim, but you could clearly see, where you were navigating to your seats and get situated around you.
Were there stairs that provided you access to the various levels within the theater?
Yes,
Could you see those stairs?
yes.
All right. Were there other patrons within the theater when you first arrived?
Very few, but I believe so, yes.
All right. With the lighting conditions, when you first came in, could you see those individuals?
Yes,
Could you make out gender, male, female,
yes,
color of hair,
yes,
if one had a red shirt or blue shirt, color of clothing?
yes.
Okay. When you walked in, was there any previews playing? First walked in?
Not what I consider previews, no. Maybe something on the screen, advertisements, maybe, but not.
Make you hungry to go buy food?
Food, yes,
Yeah,
but
okay.
not advertisement, or not previews that I recall.
Was the sound system loud? soft, normal? I don't know how else to describe it.
Normal. I don't recall any specifics.
Once you walked in, did you decide where you wanted to sit?
Yes.
And is there a particular location when you go to the movies that you like? I always have to be the aisle, I always have to be up front, I always have to, you know what I mean?
Kind of, yes, but not specific seats that we had to be. We would take into consideration if somebody was already in that area, then we would flex, but we like to be up top,
All right, and so you followed your routine?
pretty much, yes.
Did you walk up the stairs?
Yes, we did.
And did you choose the row that was going to be your spot for the day?
We did, yes.
When in that theater is at the, when you said the top, is there a wall and then kind of like a restaurant, I'm not a restaurant, but an eating area above?
A Cinebistro is what I believe they call it, yes, as you described.
All right. From that, and from the Center Bistro, the general public can't get there, right?
Right. I think there's a whole separate entrance for that.
So let's talk about from that area, is there a row of chairs that butts up against that wall?
Yes.
Is there another row?
Below that, yes.
All right. Which row were you in? The one that butts up against or the one down?
One down from the very top.
All right. And to what area did you finally make your way to take your seat, approximately?
Pretty close to the middle, but probably a little off center.
When you first sat down and the seats are kind of in the middle, one row down from the wall,
Yes.
was there anyone seated behind you?
Not that I noticed at the time, no.
Now, Chad had showed you something funny on his phone while at the mall. So I want to talk to you about once in the theater. Can you tell us whether or not your husband, Chad, retrieved his phone from wherever he keeps it and was using his phone for entertainment or whatever he was doing?
Yes, he was.
Okay. When you first sat down, there was no movie or previews on this
Correct.
screen. As you sit there and people come in and out, was there anyone seated in front where you sat down, or after you sat down, did anyone come and sit down in front of you?
Yes, there is one specific person that I remember.
Which one was it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Was he there when you got there, or did he show up later?
Oh, showed up later.
Okay. Did your husband, Chad, have any contact with that individual?
He did, yes.
Explain to us, we'll talk about a little bit about maybe what was said, but just what was the interaction between the two of them?
The other gentleman initiated the conversation, and it was just small talk. It was about different movies that were coming out, what other movie theaters in the area that they liked, something about an animated movie that Hong Kong or King Kong, something to that. Just small talk, friendly talk.
About how long did that last?
Hard to say, probably a minute or two.
Were
Couple minutes.
other patrons also talking within the theater? You might not have been able to hear the words, but you could hear voices?
I don't recall.
Okay. What I'd like to do is, let's go through a series of photographs, okay? And let me do that. It takes just a few minutes. I'm going to show them to you. Ms. Vesper, would you like to see one? Okay. I won't bring them up. have a vote, yeah. May I approach the witness and bring these to the side so we can lay the proper predicate, and I'll ask the clerk to sign it in a minute. That'll be all right?
Yes,
And I'll talk loud.
okay.
Judge, we don't have a need to do the predicate. We agreed to them coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. With that, I do need to lay what they are and for the record.
Sure.
All right, so let me come back over here.
I wish I would've told you earlier.
Yeah. All right. Your Honor, I have a series of 8 by 10 photographs with a corresponding poster board. The items are numbered so that the photograph and the poster board are one numerical apart, but it's the same JPEG number. So at this time, marked for identification, it states exhibit number E. I'm sorry, let me take this off. All right. I'll do the photographs first. The photograph is states exhibit number D, marked for identification, and states exhibit number E, marked for identification. Both of them are JPEG number 2081427. At this time, I would move states exhibit E, D, and E into evidence next in order.
5 and 6? All right, you're going to admit both of them?
Yes, that's.
Okay.
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 Yeah, both of them. All right, so that'll be 5 and 6.
Correct. The photo's 5 and the poster's 6.
All right, the next photograph, and the states exhibit marked for identification H, and states marked for identification I, photograph and an enlargement, JPEG number 2060324. Next in order.
7 and 8. They'll be admitted. Photo 7, poster 8.
The next will be photograph and a poster board. States exhibit Q and R. I know they're not in order, but
It's
that's.
okay for identification, it
Q
doesn't
and R
matter.
for identification. JPEG number 2060444.
Okay, that'll be 9 and 10. Photo will be 9, poster 10. They'll be admitted.
And the last one, Your Honor, would be states exhibit marked for identification and states F and G with the same JPEG number 2060498.
All right, the photo will be 11 and poster 12. They'll be admitted.
Thank you. And may I publish the page exhibit?
You may. You may. Carefully, please.
May I, Your Honor?
You may.
Before you is, what the next in order was.
5.
5, thank you, Your Honor. Bring it forward. Before you is State's Exhibit number 5. We talked about when you first came in, and that you took your seat. I'm not suggesting to you that this is the lighting conditions at the time you walked in. Its sole purpose is for us to get a layout of where the seats are within the theater. Okay? So, in looking at this, you indicated that you kind of had a preference, that you kind of like to be up, kind of like to be in the middle. And you also were familiar with the Cinebistro. All right. So first of all, using State's Exhibit number 5, show us where the Cinebistro is.
That would be this, above this wall, anything up in here, these seats in the back.
And the general ticket holders from the general seating area do not have access to that.
Not that I know of.
Now, we talked about that you had a favorite spot. Of course, now we know you can't get into the Cinebistro. In the general seating area, you indicated you were 1 row, 2 rows down from the wall. Show us where the wall is.
This is the wall, this tannish area.
All right. And with the pointer, approximately where your seats were.
It's small, but we were not in the very back row, so we were 1 row up, and then approximately middle, and I'd say right around this area.
Thank you. Let me show you State's Exhibit number 6. We talked about the stairs that gave you access to go up to find your seats. So using State's Exhibit number 6, go ahead and orientate us. Where's the wall for the Cinebistro?
Blackish colored wall.
All right. The stairs that you use to get up to your row.
Mr.
And-
Martin, if that is the second set, the poster would be Exhibit 8, the photo would be 7.
I apologize.
That's okay. I just want to make it clear for the record, if that's the second group, which I think it is, from what I saw.
Yeah, it's the problem 8 numbers.
Yeah.
All right, may I just have a moment then, Your Honor?
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that you take anything out of order, I'm just trying to clarify.
Well, I understand. All right.
And the photo on the screen is the same as the
Yep.
poster,
So
okay.
we're 7 and 8.
So that's 7 and 8, yep.
And this being 9. All right. Thank you, Your Honor. All right, go ahead and show us the stairs that lead you up. Now that we have the relationship of the stairs to the wall, you were in front row?
The second one down from the back, so this row here.
Now, when you arrived, we talked about the lighting conditions and what you could see. No problems going up the stairs? Okay. Let me show you photo 8 and poster board 9, JTAG 206444. Now, we got the general area for the seating. We have you going up the aisles, up the stairs. Now we need to get down an aisle, all right? So do you recognize State's exhibit number 9, the photo board that's up in front of you?
I do, yes.
All right. Orientate us so we know where the wall for the center bistro is.
Here,
And you were in what row from there?
not the first one, but the second one down here.
Now, from this photograph, do you recognize an item that is depicted in the photograph, the item that you use when you eat popcorn?
I do,
All right,
yes.
what do you use when you eat
I
popcorn?
always grab napkins, a big
Alright.
handful of napkins.
All right, and do you see that in the photograph?
Yes.
All right, would you go ahead and show that to the jury, please?
Be right by a blue drink.
All right. Now, would you have that on your left side or your right side?
Over on the left side.
Okay, and that was your seat.
That is my seat, yes.
All right. Next to you, either to your right or your left, which side did your husband sit on?
To my right.
All right, did he have a drink?
We shared a drink, yes.
All right, and do you see a cup in that general facility that represents that drink?
And that's right, the green
Alright.
with the blue logo.
And that's where Chad was seated.
Yes, to the right of that.
Let me show you Stacy Exhibit 11 and 12. Let's use number 12. All right, so general stairs, got you down the aisle. You mentioned to us in the last exhibit that there was a tissue. Do you see the same tissue?
Yes, right here, and the cup holder,
Okay. And the cup that you mentioned?
yes, to my right.
Which seat were you in?
This one right there.
All right, is that where Chad was?
No, this was where I was.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's where you
Chad
were.
was here.
All right, very good. Now, do you see an iPhone depicted in the picture?
I do, yes.
Do you recognize that iPhone?
Looks familiar, yes.
All right, do
They
you
all look
believe?
the same, but yes,
All right. Based on the events that evening, do you believe that to be Chad's cell?
I do, yes.
Okay. Is that the cell phone that he was using and not only at Wiregrass, but after you first came in?
Yes,
And the popcorn bag on the floor here, was that yours?
that was, yes, me and Chad shared it, and I had set it down at my feet when we were done.
Okay, very good. Now I'll pour it back, and then you may take your seat, and I'll put everything away. We got an idea of where you were in the theater. You told us about Chad's interaction with the gentleman in front. At the time that your husband Chad was interacting with the gentleman in front of him, to your knowledge, was anyone seated behind you?
Not that I know of.
Time passes a little bit. Does Chad leave the theater for some reason?
He decides to go get some Twizzlers, so yes, he does.
Somewhat?
Twizzlers,
You're going to have to lean a little bit forward. That is
Twizzlers.
Twizzlers, okay. All right, about how long is he gone?
A few minutes, 5 minutes or less, I estimate.
He eventually returns?
He does, yes.
While he is gone, to your knowledge, does anyone come in and sit behind you?
Not that I am aware of.
He comes back with the Twizzlers?
Yes.
Whatever they are?
Yes,
Okay. Sits in the same seat?
yes.
Let's talk about the cell phone. Once he comes back from the concession and has his, replenish his snack supply, does he begin to use the phone again?
At some point, yes.
Now, is he making calls on the phone and talking to someone on the phone?
No, no noise.
You know, you've seen your husband use the phone for, I'll call it entertainment purposes or whatever. We know we can scroll on it. When he does that, is it normally in his left or right hand, and how does he normally do it?
Well, he's right-handed, so he would hold it in his left and type or scroll with his right hand.
All right. And is that what you saw him doing?
Yes.
Do you know what he was looking at?
Other than the football meme, I couldn't tell you what else he was doing now.
All right. I want to take you to the time that all the commercials are off and we start previews. Okay, that time change. Before the previews begin, do you know if anyone came in behind and sat down behind you?
I don't recall what time. I did not notice.
Okay. After the preview started, were you aware of anyone sitting behind you?
At some point, yes.
Talk about the previews a little bit. We've gone from when you first arrived and all the commercial stuff to the previews. Did the lighting condition change at all?
It was constantly changing depending on the light from the screen, and yes, it possibly got a little dimmer.
At the time of the previews, did the lights go down?
I believe so, yes.
While Chad was on the phone, could you see the light coming from his screen?
Yes,
The previews start playing. Let's talk about that experience, okay? Does the sound level within the theater change as far as the audio that's being played for your enjoyment?
yes,
It goes up?
I would say so, yes.
After that change, did you and Chad have an opportunity to speak with one another? Could you carry on a normal conversation? That's
Oh,
what I'm
yes.
asking,
Yes,
with that change in level.
yes,
With that change in level, can you tell us whether or not you could still hear other people talking?
yes,
When we talked about could you hear other people talking, could you determine whether or not they were 4 or 5 seats away, 10 seats away? I'm trying to get a distance, based on chairs.
yes,
You could hear the people talking?
yes,
At some point, you couldn't.
yeah,
Okay, fair enough. The previews are playing, so we have the audio. Now we have the lighting. The lighting went down a little bit, right?
yes,
Were you still able to see Chad next to you?
yes,
Could you see the gentleman in front of you?
yes,
Were you able to see the people that were several chairs away from you in the same row?
yes,
With that lighting condition, could you determine whether or not they were male or female?
yes,
Could you determine, in a general sense, the color of the clothes?
yes,
Color of the hair if they weren't wearing a cap or something like that?
yes,
Okay. Now, the gentleman in front of you, you could see, right?
yes.
Okay. Were people, tell us whether or not people were still entering the theater as the previews were being played.
Yes,
Could you see them come in?
yes,
And you showed us the stairs going up each side. You were in the middle.
yes,
Whether they were to your right or to your left as they came up, could you tell whether or not they were male or female,
Yes,
to a general extent?
yes,
Okay. The people that were patrons in there, could you still see body movements? Let me just give you an example. I'm not saying it occurred, just as an example of what I'm looking for. If someone's sitting in a chair and an arm is moved, like eating a popcorn, or taking a drink, or turning this way, I'm looking for body movements. Could you see people's body movements?
yes,
Okay. There comes a point in time where you have the sensation, feeling, sense, whatever, that someone has sat down behind you, right?
yes.
Tell us how you made that determination. Now I know someone's behind me. What took place? What did you hear? What was it that led you to that conclusion?
I heard a statement that was made, and you also just sensed, I could, out of my peripheral, see somebody very close to my right and behind me.
Okay.
You just kind of sense them. You just, based on the sound, you know that they're close, and you just can tell that they're close to you.
Do you know how many people sat in behind you?
I was only aware of the one.
At the time that that person sat behind you, were the previews for movie trailers playing?
Yes,
Was the lighting what we talked about a few minutes ago,
yes,
which included whatever ambient light was flickering on the screen and bouncing into the theater,
correct,
which you said changed depending on the scene?
correct.
All right. After you became aware that someone was behind you, we had the previews playing, was your husband, Chad, was his phone out?
Yes,
All right. Was he talking on the phone?
No.
Making a call? All right. Did he have it like you explained in his left hand?
yes.
What did you see him doing?
Just the light low. He wasn't holding it up or waving it around. It was just kind of lower in his lap.
Okay. All right. I want to take you to the point of time where you are aware of whoever's behind you having contact with you. Okay? That's what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
So having that as a reference point, and you know when you only know one person came in and sat down behind you. And to that where there was, we'll get to the type of contact, but where there was contact, you know about how long that was?
I'm sorry, from what point until the contact?
First sit down behind you,
Okay,
and then first contact.
okay. No,
About-
I have to clarify. I don't recall them coming in and exactly when they sat down behind me. All I know is the very first contact when he was.
Okay. You just knew there was someone behind you, and then all of a sudden there was
Right.
contact. Okay, fair enough.
Yes,
All right. Let's talk about that contact. First, I want to talk about your observations visually, and then we'll talk about what you heard. All right, we're going to separate them. Let me, Madam Clerk, can you have that photograph of this three line? Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to put State's Exhibit number 11 up. That's one. You indicated to us where the tissue is where you were seated, right?
correct.
Okay. And Chad was to your right.
Yes.
Let's talk about visually what you saw. Explain to us, we see where your chair is, we see where Chad's is, and of course, there's a little bit of a gap. Which eye did you get the peripheral vision of someone was there?
On my right,
On your right, so it'll be towards
In
where
bet-
the cup is.
in between me and Chad, yes, in front of the cup.
Okay. All right. To your recollection, was your chair touched at all?
Not that I recall, no.
All right. At that point, did you know whether or not it was male or female?
Yes.
All right, and visually, how were you able
Oh,
to?
visually, no. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
visually, no.
Visually, no.
Just someone, a human head came into that area?
Yes.
All right. All right. At some point in time, you heard something from behind you.
Correct.
What was said?
A demand to put the phone away.
Yeah, okay. Just based on your life experience, did you draw any conclusions as to whether or not the voice was male or female?
Yes, male.
Let's talk about the words that were spoken. The words were spoken were what?
Yes.
Or what did the man say? What were the words?
Put your phone away now, or something very, very similar to that.
Words to that effect.
Yes,
Okay, not those exact words.
right. Not verbatim, but you need to put your phone away or put your phone away.
The message, definitely that's what the message was.
Was, yes.
Now, you had an occasion to hear the exchange between Chad and the gentleman in front, right?
Correct,
And then you heard the voice behind you, right?
correct.
As far as the character and the tone of comparing the two, was the conversation Chad had with the man in front, that tone of conversation, was that different from what you heard from behind you?
Very different, yes.
Okay, and how was it different?
It was just rude. It was demanding. It was like it was an order. It wasn't, excuse me, or would you mind, or an explanation that, the light is distracting. It was just very matter of fact, you need to do this.
Based on your peripheral vision, how long did you have that person in your vision? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, that kind of thing, do you know?
Several seconds, yes, probably more than 5 to 10, but it's hard to gauge.
All right. Did your husband respond to what the man said?
Yes, he did.
Listen real close, okay? When your husband responded, did you still have the man's head in your peripheral vision?
I can't say for certain.
Okay. How did your husband respond? What words did he say?
He says, "What's your problem? The movie hasn't even started yet. I'm not making any noise." Not verbatim, but
A
kind of
message.
blowing him off, just kind of basically not turning around, not acknowledging him.
Well, let me just take you through that a little bit. That's what was said.
Yes.
Did your husband, Chad, ever turn back towards where the voice came from?
No.
Can you tell us whether or not he made that statement while still looking at the phone, watching the previews? What was he doing?
Still facing forward. I believe on his phone.
Okay. But you're not sure?
Just facing forward. I just know he.
But you know he didn't turn around?
Right, correct.
All right. Did your husband use any profanity?
No.
We refer to them as F-bombs, any F-bombs being directed towards the man behind you?
No.
By your husband?
No.
Did he raise the voice to what you would consider to be, in your life experience, a normal talking level?
Yes.
A little bit?
Yes. It was louder than what you would expect in a movie theater, which is a whisper. It was louder than that.
Okay. Do you know if the man behind you responded to your husband's comments?
He did, yes.
Okay. Was that immediately after your husband said what you just told us?
Yes.
About how long, again, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, I'm talking, how long was it between where Chad made the statements and then the man behind you responded?
Seconds. It was pretty immediate.
Okay. Do you recall what the man said?
Pretty much the same thing as the first time. You need to put your phone away.
The tone or demeanor, had that changed at all from the first time the man spoke?
No, it had not.
Was the man behind you cursing?
No.
And yelling is so subjective, but, I mean, was the voice louder than what would be normal to talk in that environment?
Yes.
It was that level?
Yes.
It wasn't screaming, yelling?
Right, but it was louder than a whisper.
Okay. All right. So we have the first word spoken by the man behind. We have the response by your husband, and then a response to that.
Yes.
Okay, that's where we're at. Let's talk about what you were thinking at that point. Based on the tones of the conversation, the words that were spoken, what were you thinking? Were you afraid, scared that the man behind you was going to do something, or anyone was going to do something? That's what I'm trying to get. What were your thoughts?
No, I was just kind of taken aback at how we were approached, but nothing stood out other than, oh, great, they're bickering.
Okay. Neither one of them cursing?
No.
I want to take you to the point where you get the sensation or become aware that the man behind you has gotten up and left. I want to use that as our time frame, okay? Prior to you feeling that, were there any other words by the man behind you directed towards your husband?
Yes.
And what was that?
He said, do I need to go get management?
We've been talking about the tone and the demeanor of the spoken word when it was spoken. Had that changed at all when you compare it to the first 2 times the man behind you spoke?
It had not let up, so it was the same.
It was the same? Did your husband respond to that comment?
He did, yes.
And what did he say?
He just said, do what you need to do.
At that point, do you know whether or not your husband's phone was still out and visible? Was he using it like he was before?
I believe so, yes.
At the time that your husband made that response to what the man said behind him, did he physically turn and look at that individual?
No.
All right. Do you recall where his sight picture would be? Was it in his lap, up at the screens? We're trying to get a feel for where his attention was.
Always forward.
Did you have a sense after that comment, do I need to go get the manager, that individual left?
Yes.
What was it about the environment, what did you hear, see, that led you to the conclusion that he left?
You
Or
just,
was getting up to leave?
yeah, you just sense it, and then I actually saw him going down the stairs after he got out of his aisle and started going down the stairs.
Okay. talk a little bit, but after the third comment, did you get the sense that your husband was getting frustrated, agitated, annoyed?
Yes, I think they both were. Yes, I would say so.
Okay. So you finally see him go down the aisle, right? There's a time period till the gentleman comes back. I want to talk about what you and Chad were doing
Okay.
while he was absent. Okay?
Okay.
Now, at that point, had you and Chad began to enjoy the movie experience with the trailers?
Yes.
Was Chad still on the phone?
No.
Do you know if the screen light was still on? I'm trying to figure out.
On his phone, not on
Yeah.
the movie.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Right,
The
okay.
iPhone screen. Did you still see that screen light?
It was for a period of time after the man left the theater, but not for long.
Okay.
Shortly after, it was turned off.
Once you no longer saw the light went out. Do you know what Chad did with the phone? What does it have? It keep it in his pocket, back pocket, keep it in the lap, just hold it in his hand?
Just kind of hold it in your hand, setting it on the lap, usually.
Did you actually see it, or you just know that's his routine?
That's just his routine.
His routine, okay.
And I did not see any movement to indicate that he had put it in a pocket, so
All right,
I came to that conclusion.
all right. And I guess one of the things that I need to put in the timeline, if you will. Do you recall that there was a notice up on the screen asking the patrons to please put away their phones?
I'm aware of it, but not from that specific movie. I can't say that I paid any attention to it that day, but I'm aware of, silence your phone or, put it away. Yeah.
Okay. You indicated that when the man left, comment words to the effect, do what you got to do. So let's talk about Chad's, let's do it this way. While the man was gone, did Chad make any comments to you that would be?
Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short 10-minute recess, so please remember my instructions, and they can go to the jury pool room if you wish, but I just wanted to mention that there are designated restrooms for you guys. Did you discuss that with them at all, Deputy? Okay. Did you give them the code? Did anybody give them the code? The employee restroom? No idea. Okay. Well, the designated restrooms for jurors is either back there or in the jury pool room, okay? And remember my instructions during the recess. Deputy, it's your call where you want them. You want them back here or you want them in the jury pool room? Okay. Just head back to the jury pool room in 10 minutes. All right? Thank you.
All rise for the recess.